The vast forests of Eastern Africa are a wealth of biodiversity that sustains fragile ecosystems and natural resources. However, these forests are under siege from an alarming rise in illicit timber trafficking. Unscrupulous individuals and criminal networks exploit regulatory loopholes to plunder these natural treasures, evading the oversight of conservation and taxation officials. Musa, a gentleman who decides not to disclose his real name, is a boat maker whose trade depends on a good supply of timber. For many years, he and other boat makers used wood lumbered in Uganda to make canoes. Today, however, most of his supplies come from illegally logged timber from forests in neighboring countries. Government of Uganda reports show that the country is both a destination and major exporter of forest products from neighboring countries in the region. The most valuable segment of the trade is in hardwood trees. According to the ENACT, a Pan-African program on transnational organized crime, even with the declining forest resources, Uganda is a source for illegally harvested timber from the Democratic Republic of Congo. The timber is re-exported out of Uganda by traders who refuse to comply with regulatory requirements, pay taxes, and declare timber products. A 2015 study by the World Wildlife Fund, WWF, found that of 50,300 metric tons of timber imported into Uganda from the DRC, 42,000 metric tons was re-exported. The major recipients of the re-exported timber were Kenya, Tanzania, South Sudan, and other countries like China that received timber through the Mombasa port. The size of Uganda's legal timber trade is just a drop in the ocean when compared with the illegal timber trade, according to the Traffic, a UK-based NGO specialized in monitoring and reporting on the trade in wildlife species. A report by the organization titled Timber Trade in East and Southern Africa estimated 80% of the timber in Uganda's market is illegal. The report, published 5 years ago, identified major routes for the illegal timber trade. It showed that typically Congolese traders bring timber to markets close to the border with Uganda. Most of the trade is done in the town of Lubiriha, that is 16 kilometers from the border. The timber is then bought by Ugandan or Kenyan traders in the DRC and imported into Uganda through both manned and unmanned border posts. Timber is also traded in the cross-border market of Mpondwe in Kasese. The impact of illicit timber trafficking extends beyond environmental devastation and dissemination of regional forests. This vast underground trade in timber trafficking contributes to a phenomenon known as illicit financial flows. Illicit financial flows is a term that describes money that is illegally earned, illegally transferred from one country to another, and illegally utilized. In this case of timber trafficking, money is illegally earned because the logging occurs outside the rule of law and regulatory authorities. The proceeds of the timber are not captured, allowing the illegally earned money to move across borders. Sometimes, as is the case in both the DRC and South Sudan, this money may also be used to fund criminal activities like armed rebellions and insurrections, as well as furthering continued timber trafficking. Eunice Musime, the executive director of Pan-African Feminist Development Organization, Akina Mama wa Africa, says illicit financial flows fueled by crimes like illegal logging severe ramifications on Uganda's society and economy.
So some of the strategies that are being put in place, one is to have more progressive tax regimes that are able to ensure that our taxes, which are important for our domestic revenues, are not siphoned out of Africa. Other strategies that have been put in place is to strengthen our institutions to ensure that they are working very well, and that the systems are strong, and ensuring that illicit finances are not leaving the continent. Of course, also raising awareness about what's happening is an important strategy.
Dennis Kavuma, the executive director of Uganda Timber Growers Association, says that illicit business has had effects on legitimate timber trade. It provides a cheap supply of high-value timber to the local market, stifling the work of the hundreds of traders working within the law.
This illegal person is harvesting a tree which he never planted, and for which he's using the wrong tools and equipment, and then he produces and brings to the market products that are not valuable. Because he never incurred a cost, he has not incurred the cost. The only cost he has incurred is to harvest and to transport and cut. Undersizes when he's processing them, and then he's also not giving the products the proper price. So he puts products on the market that are of poor value and underpriced, disadvantaging the farmer who has incurred all that cost that I've mentioned.
Compounding the problem are reports that timber trafficking is enabled by a cabal of influential people in business and politics. Boaz Basirigenda Abwoli, the ranger manager of the Budongo Range System, says these powerful gurus are frustrating efforts to stop illegal logging in Uganda.
We have issues where the communities are involved in that vice. There is concealment of the information. People don't easily give the information. So you should have your own mechanism penetrating the communities through sensitizing them, that they can be close to the team and they give the information. That will always help us detect such kind of vices.
In response to this crisis, the government of Uganda has instituted a range of measures to curb domestic illegal logging and illicit timber trafficking. An institutional framework backed by laws like the National Forestry and Tree Planting Act and the National Forestry Authority Act provides a basis for Uganda's conservation efforts. The Wildlife Act lays out strong measures and operating procedures to combat crimes like timber trafficking, and government is working with organizations such as Interpol and the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime to prevent unlicensed harvesting, trading, and exporting of timber. Boaz Basirigenda says that this has led to some improvements in forest conservation in Uganda.
From 2022, there was a boundary opening of Goma Forest Reserve where the entire boundary was opened, and it's now helping us a lot to manage Goma. Then we have collaborations. We have partners who are bringing all the other stakeholders together for discussions. Like today we had the Kison, we had a number of partners here discussing about forest management. This is ensuring that we get the concerted effort for all of us to manage these forests.
Government strategies to combat illegal timber trade have also had an impact on the day-to-day timber transporters and retailers who have been caught on the wrong side of the law. A former timber trader who spoke to TV West on condition of anonymity says stronger regulations forced him to leave the illegal business.
Unfortunately, me, I left out timber trading. Our Uganda things are not easy. You're paying a lot of revenue taxes, almost 7 taxes. Then there is a lot of taxes you have to pay. But I pray hard that maybe those people who are still there in timber trading, maybe the things were put right. But depending on me, I left out the business.
While efforts by the Ugandan government and conservation organizations to combat the illicit trade have led to some success. Winning the war against timber trafficking and illegal logging is an uphill battle. Tax avoidance by timber traders and criminal networks hampers economic development, and the provision of essential services and corruption enables this crime to continue. This story was produced by Wealth of Nations, a media skills development program in partnership with African Center for Media Excellence. For TV West, I am Patricia Namtevi.